Hello, welcome to Mental Men.
Hello,
I'm
Brad.
Brad. Hello, Jordan.
Yeah, that's me. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
All right. So today we are talking about marriages,
Yeah,
the good stuff.
the good stuff.
Yeah. So, fucking lost my train of thought already.
Well, I can talk. I've been married, technically, legally 3 times, but,
3 times.
well,
Oh, because you got
we had to get a
yeah.
divorce. We can talk about that too, but yeah, I know what it feels like.
You know what it feels like to be married.
Yeah.
How long have you and Jess been together?
We met in 2016, August 2016.
And then how long have you been married?
We got married in 2020. So, and then we got divorced 2021, remarried again. So,
Yeah, but I don't think that counts. So basically 2020. So
yeah,
5 years,
5
basically.
years. Yeah, yeah.
Nice.
So, I know in my last marriage, we were married 7 years, and there's the
Okay.
famous 7 year itch thing.
Is there?
Yeah.
I mean, I know there's the Hollywood movie, but
Do you know about that, Brandon?
I mean, I've heard the term, but I don't consider it part of like a marriage thing.
It's like when a lot of the divorces happen is at year 7.
oh,
So,
I didn't know
and
it.
for me, that's when it was. So I feel like that's
So
almost,
it wasn't North Korea; it was the 7 years.
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah. So, yeah. How's your marriage doing?
Jesus Christ. I thought you might re-ask the question back. We've been together I was lose track. It's something like 17 years. Been married for 10 this year in September.
You guys met 17 years ago?
Yeah, something like that.
Damn, I didn't know it was that long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Been together a long time.
You guys were dating for 7 years. Before
Yeah.
So that's a lot longer than what our
are you saying?
previous generations did, right?
Yeah. I mean, there was never any none of that stupid. You see that a guy won't buy a ring or that kind of a thing. It was never anything like that. It was assumed
Yeah.
that this was like a real relationship. It was going forward. It's just the time in our lives. It didn't make any sense to get engaged really. So
Yeah. So what made you take that leap and propose?
mostly I actually had the money to do it because I lived at home till let's just say I was a bit older.
Yeah.
No, I was I can't remember if I was 29 or 30. No, it had to be less than that. It had to be 28 because we lived in our place for a couple of years before we got married. So then,
But that affects marriages today a lot, right? Is
What's that?
finances now, right?
oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
With my parents, they had me when my dad was 26. And I think he owned 2 houses by then, by the age of 26 already. And for me, it's I don't have shit at 40,
Yeah.
So that changes relationships so much, right?
Yeah, I think some of that, well, a little off topic here, but a lot of that is bullshit because I didn't have a house, a wife, kids, none of that, at 30.
Yeah.
And now I have all that. And, it's 10 years later. It's not that big of a span of time. I just think that there's so much emphasis on you need these things and it's not true, or there should be less of a timeline on it. You don't need it by the time you're 25 or something.
Yeah, and I think we have more time to experiment with different things. Like my dad, that was his first relationship when he married my mom.
Yeah.
He didn't go out and swipe right for years and years, right? He just
I was Ash's first, serious relationship. Yeah.
yeah, I think that's a huge shift in terms of time, at least.
Yeah.
People would get married,
It's so fast.
So
it was
fast.
it was a totally different thing back then though.
yeah.
But yeah.
So do you think there's something in humans that they just need more time naturally, or now?
Oh no, it's societal. It's 100% societal. Yeah. And I think that there's a bigger push now for like that you don't get your frontal lobe fully developed till you're 25.
Yeah.
So it's like maybe don't make a decision that big when you're 20. It's like just you can be together, you can buy a house together,
Yeah.
you can be engaged. It's like just maybe wait a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I do know, because this happened with one of my older sister's friends, like when you reach a certain age, like a bit older, I mean, and you meet someone that you click with really well, they get married real fast. Yeah.
So when do you think is the right time to get married? Like,
There's no right time.
do you need to be a little financially stable at least?
No, I don't think any of that matters that much.
Because in China, most marriages, if you're the man, you gotta buy the family an apartment.
Yeah, I hate all that stuff where like
Yeah.
dowries and all that.
Yeah.
It's like, this is nonsense. It's just like
From the Western perspective, it's nonsense. But from like India has one of the lowest divorce rates in the world, and there's mostly as arranged marriage, right?
I
So-
bet you it's for different reasons than you think
Well,
it is.
I mean, there's so much family involved in those decisions, right? There's less autonomy,
less escape.
Yeah.
There is no escape.
definitely.
It's a little saying, there is no escape from hell.
Yeah. That was intense. Yeah. But not every arranged marriage is hell.
No, I don't. I'm just making
Yeah.
a joke, but I'm just
Yeah.
saying like
I know it's
I hate the like divorce statistics too, because it's just so it takes every single marriage into account, rather than so okay, so let's say it's at 50%. I think it's more than that. I think it's like 60% or something now. It's like, well, that's still 40% that are going on, but
yeah.
Well, my grandparents were arranged.
In Italy.
Well, my grandfather was here.
Okay.
And-
yeah.
He's like, send me a wife. And they put my grandma on a boat.
Not even a plane back then. just a
Well,
boat.
yeah, and when she got here, my grandpa was like, "You couldn't send someone more attractive." Like
Damn.
it wasn't good. But
Yeah.
they got married. They were married. I mean, their whole life. Like after that, like they had my like 3 kids or whatever, and I don't know if they were ever happy, but they were. I mean, they were happy, but I mean, I don't know if they ever had that like that connection as like a married couple like we would have today.
Because I don't know if happiness was like a thing you valued back then. It was more like you have
it was
sacrifice
survival. Yeah.
and duty. Right?
Exactly,
Duty was like a big thing back then, right?
yeah.
Whereas now it's like such a
It's like, how can I get my family ahead back then? How can I make them more like, how can I get a house? How can I get kids? How can I get a higher paying job?
Yeah.
And it didn't matter. It's like, okay, she's like back then, it's like, oh, she's cooking my dinner. She's cleaning the house. Well, I can go do everything else.
yeah,
You know, it was almost like a partnership more than a marriage.
right.
Or not a partnership's a bad word, because
Yeah.
like almost like a business partnership. Like it was,
Yeah.
you know, like it was.
Yeah.
There were assigned roles, right? Like
Exactly.
you do this, and I'll take care of the family.
Exactly.
And the men had the sweet deal, baby. Oh, I don't have to cook, clean, take care of the kids at all.
I don't have to dust.
I can go into the office. Who knows how hard they worked, honestly.
That's when all the affairs happened, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
How long you been with Caitlin?
Caitlin and I met in 2018. We got engaged in 2019. So we were only together for a little over a year.
How did you first meet? What's the first moment?
I swiped right on her.
Hell
Did
yeah,
you?
baby.
We met on a website called OkCupid,
Okay.
and I messaged her, and she messaged back, and that's how it kind of.
What was your message?
Hi, my name's Brandon.
Terrible.
No,
That's not how you get ladies.
She liked it because she's like, you're the first person that didn't like make up a line or like just send a dick pic, you know, like. So it was like she said it was just like I was more just being myself, and then yeah, we dated for a while.
Did you talk? How long did you talk on OkCupid before you met?
It was about a month before, like we were texting and stuff, and then we met. We just went for a coffee, and then yeah, and then it kind of went from there.
Because I think a lot of like when we were growing up and how we had to actually go and face a woman and then get like rejected, and that was so crushing for me.
Oh,
'Cause
yeah,
I
it was awful.
so
Yeah.
shy.
Oh, yeah.
And now technology has like really bypassed that. It's like,
I think that it's going to go back because it's kind of like Brandon's story. Like, Kaylin liked him because they didn't immediately hit on them or send a dick pic. So it's kind of like if you're a woman on that app, you'd be like, how many? I mean, honestly, how many before you're just like, I'm deleting this thing. Like,
Well,
Yeah.
also for like, women have all the power on those apps. I could message 1,000 women just hi, I'm Brandon, hi, I'm Brandon, hi, I'm Brandon, and Caitlin might be the only one that responds. And then like we can but women they have to go through all of those messages of like hi, I'm Brandon, or a dick pic, or what's up, girl, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
what's up, girl?
Yeah, like, and there's so much, they have to filter through so much that I think like women probably are way more tired of those apps than guys are, because guys are, I mean, I don't want to say more patient with it because they can just send as many messages as they want.
but the thing is, it's so like those apps make it so surface like. Like, I think there's a stat where it's like 10% of the women get 90% of the messages.
Yeah.
And it's just like hot women. Okay, I gotta message her. Ugly ones, swipe left. Like, I don't want that.
Well, that's like on Tinder. When I had Tinder,
Yeah.
there was points in my life where I'm like, well, I'm just going to swipe right until my swipes are out for the day.
Me too.
And whoever responds,
Yeah.
then it's like, okay, I'll strike up a conversation.
Yeah.
But there was no like, I sometimes I wouldn't even look. I just swipe.
Me too. After my divorce, I downloaded all the Chinese ones. They had Tinder and then another big Chinese one. I would
Yep.
just until you get whatever, there's a
Until
certain
you
amount.
there's a match
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah. And so it's just like you're it's like a lottery almost, like
Well, I remember
at least for hookups. Yeah.
I remember this because you and Chris said the same thing, that if you told me that I would get divorced and I would be sleeping with like hot women every night and I would never feel more lonely, I would have said you're an idiot.
Yeah.
But is that how you felt?
Oh, totally. I actually felt that the women that I met on all the apps were just very sad. It was like they were missing something in their life and they desperately.
And you helped them so much through that.
Because in China, they have this concept called leftover women.
Jesus.
Yeah. So if you're a certain age, it's always changing, but I think it's like 28 or something. Like if you're older than that, you're like your chances of finding a man go downhill.
That's probably because of, children. But it's like if
Yeah.
you didn't.
That's the thing.
This
Yeah.
is a big thing. This is something that really bugs me now. Is it seems like so many people are after like this. It's we talked about other stuff, instant gratification, right?
Yeah.
And I think that you see that in a lot of young men. They're just like, I just want to hit it and be done. And,
Yeah.
And they see these guys online or
Yeah.
all about that kind of stuff, right? When they don't think about like, and they're very, very selfish. Like they don't think about like this. I want to share my life with somebody. They're just like, this is my life.
Yeah.
I'm going to live my life how I want to, that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And you should have some of that. But it's like, if you really want to be with somebody and you really want to connect with somebody, you have to have a different mentality. Otherwise, you're going to be lonely as shit.
But that tech part makes you, it just makes you, it cuts through that. It cuts through all of your logic, and the instant gratification becomes like how your mind functions. So it's like you don't even think about long-term stuff. You just think about, I just want a short-term.
I know, but I'm just talking about like in general, not just
Yeah.
about the apps. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's like when I met Caitlin, because I was on all those like Tinder and all those other ones, and you're just kind of looking for a hookup. And as fun as that is, like there's a point where I just like, you know what, that's not yeah, you change your mentality. Where I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to send 1,000 dick pics today. I'm going to say, hi, I'm Brandon.
It took you a
It took,
thousand.
yeah. So you know what I mean? Like it's just Brad's right. There's a point where it's like, you know what, this isn't fun anymore. That's not what I want. And you change your mentality and you go looking for what you want. And once I started taking it seriously, I met Caitlin, and it was, I mean, I had met a couple other girls before that, and I mean, they were fine or whatever. But then when I really kind of met Caitlin, that's when it kind of all clicked. So
It's kind of funny talking about this because then you think about the other perspective, the women's side, and it's just like how many women are like, I'm not dating anymore. I'm done dating, that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, when all the men think of you this way and they're not going to settle down with you until you're 35, you know,
Yeah.
it's just like, it's honestly, it's no wonder.
Yeah.
And people are like, well, why are they doing this 4B movement and all this? It's like, well, because you're shit. I don't know what to tell you.
Which movement?
The 4B movement in South Korea, it's basically
What's that?
a bunch of women who just, they're kind of fed up with the way the men are there. So they're kind of banding together, and it's almost like a celibacy thing, and also just like we're just not going to engage with these men anymore until they like get better.
I kind of heard of that because I think South Korea is like one of the worst countries where it's just like the men think they own the whole society basically.
Yeah.
And the women should have their role, right?
Yeah.
Like super conservative. I think that's changing, right? Everything is changing.
I
now.
hope so. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Jordan, what was the moment? Because you met Jess
Yeah.
after you had gone on all those.
So
Yeah.
actually,
So what was the moment where when you're like, oh, like Jess is
So I actually met her almost a year before while I was married. But just at a function at a event, like I didn't think about anything. So they were holding. It was in Beijing in some little bar. They were holding this event for like a Tibetan movie, and Jess was like part of the volunteer. She was like volunteering for this organization. And I bought a bag from that organization. So I had to add her WeChat to pay. So I had her WeChat for like a year. And then when I went to Nepal and did those hikes, on the first day of the hike, I saw she posted something on WeChat. It was a quote. She still has the quote somewhere. I forget it, but I connected with it. And I messaged her and I said, like, oh, do you remember me? I'm Jordan. I bought a bag from you.
Here's my dick. Do you recognize this?
And then like we just started texting each other on WeChat and stuff. And then throughout the different hikes, I said, okay, how about we go on a date when I get back to Beijing? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so August 26th, a friend of ours' birthday, that was our first date. So I always tell the story that when I was at a subway station and when I met her, like time kind of stopped somehow. Like it never happened. It's like the weirdest experience. But I saw her in this white dress coming towards me. She was late, of course, like 10, 15 minutes. And I just kind of knew in that moment, like, that she was the one. And I still to this day feel like she's my soulmate.
So when you got divorced, I know a lot of people, it seems like when they get divorced, they're like, never again. I'm never getting married again. That's it. You never felt that?
Going through all those Tinder experiences really helped because I saw what I didn't want. There was too much sadness in a lot of the women because they wanted kids like desperately, and they didn't care about me really.
Yeah, but I mean, you could have been together and not gotten married.
Yeah, but I knew from that experience that when I met Jess, I'm like, oh, I need to hold on to this one. I knew it like deep down in my heart. I'm like, I know it's a little soon after my divorce, but at the same time, if I don't take that chance, I might lose her forever.
Yeah.
And that would have been harder for me to live with. So I knew I had to get her.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it took some time, for us to jive, I would say. There was a learning curve to how both of us worked, because I was still drinking for maybe 2 or 3 months at the beginning of when we were dating,
Okay.
and she almost broke up with me like during that time. I didn't know that, and she only told me later after that. But she's just like, this guy's like crazy, and yeah, but there was one day we went to go visit 2 friends. We had like a dinner date with them, and when she saw me with them, she felt like I was very kind and warm, so she in that moment decided to stay with me. I remember that day, and she said she was going to break up with me that day. So that was like the moment. Like, if that dinner had turned out differently, we might not be together. But it's just little details of like what makes a relationship, right? Like what can make or break. Yeah. Do you have that? Did you have like moments where you're like, you thought you would lose?
I mean, me and Ash did break up for a year.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, we were together for like 2 years and broke up for, I don't know if it was a full year, but yeah, and then got back together.
What made that happen?
Well, we broke up. I broke up with her because I didn't think she was like ambitious enough. and then she went to therapy and stuff after we broke up, and we were still talking. We still worked at Stampede together and stuff. And
so that's important quality for you, is someone who's ambitious.
I want, like somebody who's like confident, ambitious. Yeah.
What other qualities?
I don't know. Strong. Strong-willed.
Yeah. What about you, Brandon? What did you look for in a woman?
What did I look for in a woman?
Yeah.
Honestly, it was just like with Caitlin. It was weird because like most girls I met, it was like I felt like we'd get along, but it was always on a different wavelength. And when I met Caitlin, it was like our first date, and we just talked. And Caitlin likes to talk, and like I remember just listening and never getting never drifting off thinking about something else. And I remember thinking like that doesn't happen. Usually I'm always like rolling my eyes like, okay, that's enough, kind of move on.
That must be great on a date.
Not most of the time, but I find
you're
myself
talking
I
again
don't know if
about
it's like
something.
it's like ADHD or whatever. It's like I'll just like kind of zone out. But with Caitlin, I was so zoned in. And then the second date, we went to go see Ant-Man and the Wasp. And as we were walking to the theater, she saw a big poster for Mamma Mia 2. And she's like, can we go see that instead? And I was like, I didn't want to, but I was like, sure, whatever. And then like watching her and how happy she was because she loves ABBA, and like and I was like, oh, like this is like, she's just so pure. And so like she finds joy in like things like that. And it was easy to like, I always wanted somebody that was just happy to be alive a lot of the time. Like, you know what? Just like,
Jesus.
no, like, you know what I mean? Like, who just like loves life.
Yeah.
No, I know what
I
you're
don't
saying.
want-
It's just funny. You
Yeah.
say it out loud sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't want somebody who's always like
Another day.
another day or like, you know, or they just
Another
want-
day above ground. Here we go.
Yeah, like she finds the joy in the little, and of course there's those days where we all kind of get down or whatever, and she has those too, but I don't know. She's the best.
I think it's funny you guys have these sort of like romantic stories because it was like you meant for it to happen. But like me and Ash, we were friends first for like a long time. and then we like drunkenly made out one night, and then that like changed the dynamic of the relationship after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's that's okay too, right? I think that's how Helen and I first started as well. In Paris, we were classmates,
Oh, okay.
and we were at a party one night. I was absolutely shit faced at that party. Like, there's this Colombian guy who just kept making mojitos like over and over, and that's when I kissed her during the party.
Oh, yeah.
And I had never thought of like any romantic idea with her. She was just one of my classmates. But I just maybe it was the alcohol that saw her in a different light somehow, and that's how it started. And then
I almost quoted that song that I despise. I won't.
which song?
That song from that actor, the guy who played Ray,
Oh, Jamie Foxx.
Jamie Foxx. Yeah.
Yeah.
Blame it on the alcohol. It's a horrible song. It's anyways.
Yeah, but I think after that, then I saw her in a different light. It's like you see her, like you see like the kind side of her and the tender side to her, like just the human side. I think that certain walls break as you start seeing a woman in a different light, right? So that's how that started. And I think, I loved her, but I don't know if I was in love with her, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Like
It does make sense, but
I didn't feel like with Jess, I feel like she's my soulmate, like she's the one.
so why did you go like all the way to marriage?
That happened in our first year in China. So I came back from the temple. I had like a 2 or 3 month stay at the temple.
Yeah.
And without her. And I knew that at the temple, I just felt like she could give me what I need. Maybe that was the thing. Maybe there's like a quality, like a motherly quality as well. In
That's
a way.
hot.
Yeah. I mean, like someone who could care for me and I could care for them,
Okay, yeah.
And yeah, maybe that's what I needed at that time. I don't think I had that in my life. And yeah, we just kind of went with it. She went with it, and I met her family, and before the marriage, of course, and they accepted me as one of them. And I've heard so many horror stories with foreigners meeting,
Yeah.
the families especially. Some of them will just reject a foreigner just because of that, right?
I mean, I think that is
It's valid.
fair,
It's
honestly.
valid.
Yeah.
Of course,
Yeah.
it's valid. Yeah, but
Especially like with the like, I mean, China is obviously a better, like a more, what do you say? It's a better country, but like than where all these fucking passport bros go and all that kind of crap.
oh, there's a lot there too. Like there's a
Really?
lot. Oh yeah,
I
there's a
haven't
lot
thought-
of like guys who go there and escape because they're just losers in their home country, right? And they just go and start a new life in China, right? And meet a Chinese woman, and there's so much of that in Asia in general, right? Like, yeah, a lot of men, they just escape, and they whatever, they're a construction worker in Saskatchewan who's just like, I'm done with Canada, I'm going to Thailand and marrying a woman and living there. That's for some guys, that's a thing, right? But I always wanted like a deeper love. I didn't want like, that surface stuff. I knew that couldn't feed my soul, right? So, but when we first started dating, she kind of, I believe she had family values first.
Yeah.
That for me, that's number one. And then work is number two. So, but then she was maybe too ambitious in that sense. And I think she chose work over family at a certain point. And that's when I kind of felt betrayed in some sense,
Yeah.
that she was intentionally choosing work over me. Like she wanted,
Is she, now that you still keep in touch with her, is she very successful now?
yeah, I think she,
Like, did she accomplish, do you think, what she was hoping to?
yeah, I think so. She was like one of the youngest like partners in the company and stuff, and so she married a heart surgeon
Oh, wow.
in Shanghai.
Upgrade.
Yeah, exactly. Well, if you hear some of the stories, I don't know if it's an upgrade somehow, because he's super busy too, and I don't know if he's there for her sometime. Yeah, the Chinese culture, like the work culture, affects marriage so much. It's
I'm
just-
sure. What did
yeah.
you say what was it? It was like 12 and 6 or something like that?
996.
996.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's brutal.
It's brutal. It's hard. And, you have a family. And the first writing project I got hired for, the director of the project was the most workaholic guy I've ever met.
Yeah.
And he would have like 4 projects going at one time. And he was in Beijing, but his family was in Shanghai. So he would like rotate on these projects. He would spend like 2 or 3 hours with us, and then he would go to the editing room for like a film that he just shot, and he would work with the editor to do that. And then he would go to another room for another development meeting, and he would just cycle between these, and he would sleep 3 to 4 hours a night, and just on repeat.
Were his movies good?
I think later on, yes, he became very popular. But
So you haven't seen any.
they don't have English subtitles, so I didn't watch.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
But and he loved his family, like he loved his baby and his wife, but he said he didn't have a choice. That's the system that you're like stuck in. Like it's hard to understand, but I know like in that culture at that level,
Yeah.
someone can replace you so easily. Like there's all for that role, that directing role, there's like 1,000 people willing to take your job. So you have to just be that.
Keep going. Otherwise, you're out.
Otherwise you're out. And so but sometimes after the film, I would see he would go back to Shanghai, and then he would have all these photos with them and stuff. But I don't know how his wife put up with that. Like,
Do you ever think, because of all these marriages that you saw in China, do you ever think it skews your view of marriage here? Are you ever like, you and Jess are having a fight about something, you're like, well, we could be back in China where, I don't even have to pay attention to you.
no, I don't think so. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. Not my first answer is not really, but it could in the future. I'm gonna think about that question because I don't know what my thoughts are about marriage here yet.
What do you mean?
No, some of the people I've met, I know it's kind of over somehow,
Oh, okay, yeah.
and yet no one is taking action. And I think
Well, I think that takes a lot of time.
it
I think
takes time. Yeah.
you just think about like a relationship where that isn't a marriage, and that maybe you're in when you were younger. It breaks down
Yeah.
slowly over
Slowly.
time,
Yeah.
and then until there's a breaking point. I think it's the same thing with marriage, and I think that people have a problem with stepping forward and being like, "This is a big problem for me. We need to fix this, like we need to go to marriage counseling, or we need to talk this through and fix it."
Yeah.
And I think that people have a big problem doing that, and instead it just festers,
Right.
and it becomes, and then it's like, it's not just this one topic anymore. Now it's like, oh, for instance, like one, it's like, oh, we're not having sex or something like that,
Yeah.
and then it's like, and now it's and it just, when you start like slowly like hating a person, even though this is a person you're supposed to love and spend your life with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you watched the show Couples Therapy?
I've seen clips of it. My problem with it is I just don't know how much is real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've watched all the episodes.
Yeah.
'Cause some of it is a bit too much. Like, again, I don't know. It does seem like they just put cameras there and they let the real session happen.
Okay, yeah.
But it's just about how they edit, like what probably the most juiciest material from that session is what you're seeing, right? But there's so many like interesting dynamics, right? Like gay couples, lesbian couples, and like what are they dealing with? And like there's one that's like a thruple or whatever. Like the guy
Man, what
was
problems
doing-
could a thruple have? I have no idea.
Exactly. And like they investigate those problems of like, this person's jealous that they're spending more time with the other woman,
Yeah.
It's like, what is the right way for that? So it's interesting to see what problems are presented in the modern world. And I think a lot of it is down just to communication. And that's for me.
I think, communication is, that's number one, obviously. I also think a very important thing is how you fight, because you're going to fight.
Yeah.
There's no way around it. You're going to miscommunicate,
Yeah.
and we all in this room know of a couple that I think fights very badly. And anyways,
I
maybe
actually
this is
don't
too
know who
deep.
you're
Of,
talking
okay,
about,
well,
but
no,
all the dick pics.
yeah. Maybe this is too straightforward a question. Do you think you fight well with Jess?
Like what I said before, it's about nipping the bud or as early as you can before it manifests into those things.
Yeah,
So we have those awkward conversations more frequently.
yeah,
And then we just kind of get it out that way.
yeah. That's a better way for sure. Yeah,
Yeah, that's at least, I think with Helen and I, we didn't do it that way. And I think it manifested into a divorce, but
it manifested in a real bad way. Let me tell you.
But it's also sometimes you just grow into different people. Sometimes that's a part of it. Like
I do think that is like a thing that happens, but I think the reason you grow, I think that you saying that about your first marriage isn't necessarily fair because you guys were also communicating the whole time and that kind of a thing. Whereas I do think other people, like when you stop communicating and someone says like, I grew out of you, it's just like, well, that doesn't make sense
yeah.
if you're communicating the whole time, because then you see them growing and you see them getting,
Yeah, but there are certain events, like we were just poor students when we got married. And then when she kind of entered the business world, you got to take on a different persona and you start valuing different things and giving up different things.
I guess I can see that.
know
I can
what
see
you
that
mean.
point of view.
We-
Yes.
We could have communicated those things better. And we were just more like, okay, let's go to movie Friday night. And then let's
Yeah.
go into the park on Saturday and stuff like that. We were just like planning what we should do and stuff. And I mean, we had a pretty good marriage. Like it was just really the last 2 years.
You're like, one day I went on this hike and it just fell apart.
Yeah.
I saw an
Pack of
atomic
cigarettes.
bomb in North Korea. And
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. That's my kind of story, but
yeah, I think we fight well. Like I think the worst is when people like yell at each other or name call. And I'm like, I don't understand how you come back from that. Because like me and Ash in a fight have sometimes sworn at each other, and that means that the fight's like at its top.
Yeah.
It's escalated to its maximum point if one of us swears. But if one of us ever name called, I don't know. I don't know how you come back from that,
Yeah.
because it's such a level of disrespect.
Yeah. Caitlin and I have never name called, but I'm bad at fighting. not because I'll name call, because I'll go quiet.
Oh yeah.
Like
And
she'll
not say
say
what you're
something-
actually thinking.
What's that?
And not say what you're actually thinking.
No. Well, if I say what I'm actually thinking, I'm going to say something bad.
Oh,
So I
okay.
try and
But isn't that like how you feel?
it's not how it's an. I see it as like an instant reaction, like an emotional reaction. It's like I try and like, okay, I don't mean to say that. How can I word it differently? Because I don't want to be disrespectful. I love my wife. I don't want to be like. My initial reaction is like, "You bitch!" Like that's not how I feel. That's just my initial like snap reaction. So I'm really good at like, okay, I don't want to say that, obviously. So how can I say what I'm feeling in a different way without being mean? And Caitlin's very much like, she's never mean, but she's very much like, no, I want an answer. And I'm like, give me a second, let me internalize and like word it in a way that's more respectful. Because I don't like raising my voice either. I don't like swearing. Like I'd rather just have a conversation.
Do you like conflict? I mean,
I hate conflict.
are you okay with conflict? Like, or do you just want to be more liked?
Not more like, I mean, I don't think anybody likes conflict or is like, I'm not comfortable with conflict when it comes to, because it's,
Or do you avoid it? Like when it happens?
if I can avoid it, I mean, I'll point, if I know that there's no other choice, I'll tell Caitlin like, hey, like this isn't working. And she's really good at that with me. But like I'm very easygoing. I can let things kind of roll off my back and they don't bother me. But I'm very bad at, and she knows this, and I tell her all the time, like, I'm sorry, but I'm not gonna say exactly what's on my mind in that moment because I need to because I don't want to explode kind of thing. So
Like a dying star.
yeah, like a dying star.
I think that's the most important part of the fight, though, is like the end and when you make up, the denouement, if you will, is like when you know,
Yeah, the
whoever,
resolution,
yeah, exactly. And then I want to ask, are you that person or is Jess that person?
For what?
Who's the person that comes forward and fixes it in the end? Or begins the process of fixing it?
I think it was her more at the beginning when we first started dating, but now it's more me
Yeah.
because I see things faster now. Like I see the solution. Like, oh, okay, I was wrong. It was too emotional, whatever. And it's like, I think I used to be way more stubborn because I avoided.
Yeah.
And those of that mentality of just avoiding right away kind of like adds up into like not dealing with it.
Yeah.
But now that I'm more comfortable with dealing with things, it's like I see the answer faster. So I'm usually the one that's just like, okay, let's just kiss and it's my fault.
Let's
or-
just kiss. Let's just kiss. It'll all be good.
Yeah. Well, we usually hug or whatever. And I can tell. It's also like I know her a lot better. Like I know when she feels hurt.
Yeah.
I know when she feels like a little down or something. And I'll take those cues and like, okay, I'll check in.
Yeah.
To be like, are you okay? And
Well, it's the worst if you're in a fight and you know you hurt them. Like you went too far. You said one word and you're just like, shit.
yeah.
I didn't mean that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, after moving here, it's such a change of identity for the both of us that sometimes we have to check in a lot more,
Yeah.
especially like with the isolation stuff, like,
Mm-hmm.
coming from downtown Beijing to here.
Yeah.
It's like I can feel when she's a little distant and lonely.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, like maybe later let's watch something. Let's
Maybe later we'll kiss and it'll all be good.
make up.
Yeah.
So it'll be like something to look forward to, and you got to spice things up, right? Like,
With a movie, totally. Yeah.
And more kissing.
Yeah.
yeah, like plan something, plan a date or unexpected.
Yeah. I do find, sorry. I was going to say, I do find in my date planning hard because I'm like the classics, it's like dinner, movie, these things, especially in the winter. Because in
Yeah.
the summertime, I'd be like, well, we can go for a walk.
Yeah.
We get ice cream and go for a walk, or something like that. But in the winter, you're just like, well, we're living in a frozen hellhole, so yeah, we're gonna see a movie or something.
I'm constantly like on Eventbrite, like looking at what are some event and like anything, like what can we do?
Yeah,
It's hard here.
yeah,
You gotta
it's
be
really hard. Yeah,
like way more creative, I feel, especially if you don't have the funds to like go to concerts. Or, like,
well, that's the thing too. If you're like, okay, let's go on a date. I don't want to spend too much money. So,
Yeah.
well, obviously you're not going to dinner because that's like $100 now. And so you're like, well, what are we gonna do?
yeah.
Yeah.
So what are something? What
Well,
can you
no,
recommend?
Brandon was gonna say something. Yeah, you were gonna say them.
Oh, as far as like, because Caitlin struggles with that too, where she's like like Caitlin's an introvert. She doesn't like do a lot. She does a lot of stuff with me or with her family and stuff, and she's always like, "Oh, I'm bored, I'm lonely," kind of thing. So I feel like a lot of the times it's on me. It's like, okay, how can I? Like last night, she was like, "I'm bored. Like, what should we do?" And I don't know if you've seen in the basement, we have a dartboard above our microwave. It's like, well, let's just throw darts. Just something, change it up and make it fun. And we had a really good time. And it's like, because we're trying to save money. So going out is, it's like
Yeah.
it has to be planned. It's like,
Yeah.
we have Valentine's Day next week. It's like, okay, what are we doing? Like,
I
Oh,
fucking
shit, it's
hate Valentine's Day. What a garbage fucking holiday. I despise Valentine's Day. Lots of times, actually, me and Ash have done stuff on like the 12th or the 13th or something because Valentine's Day is such a garbage day for idiots. I mean, no, it's great.
I mean,
Celebrate
yeah,
how
I'm
you
not
want.
going out Valentine's Day.
You mean you guys played darts while you played Balatro, right?
No, that's just me playing Balatro. No,
Let's play darts. Then you're just throwing, and she's like watching
Yeah.
a movie. Yeah.
no, it's hard. Like, I don't know. Yeah, going on dates is hard, especially in the winter.
Yeah. Or if you don't drink or you don't want to drink, because how easy would it be? Like, oh, let's go for a drink.
Yeah, it's something Caitlin and I don't drink
Yeah.
really at all. So it's like our big thing is dinner and a movie.
Yeah.
And it was fine when we were, we didn't really care about like our funds and like we weren't saying it was like dating. But now it's like, okay, do we have movie passes? Okay, great. We can go to a movie because it's free. But then dinner's like $60-$70. It's like, it's hard.
Yeah.
And we're going to Vegas in a couple months, and already we're just like, I don't want to spend the money. But
What are you gonna do there?
probably just sit by the pool and not spend any money. No, we're actually just gonna. We're only going for a few days. We just want to get out of the city,
Yeah.
kind of just go sit by the pool, get In-N-Out Burger.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. What have you guys gone bowling yet? We were thinking of doing that.
Have I been bowling yet?
I haven't been yet for years.
Jordan, have you said that you and Jess haven't been on an escape room?
Oh yeah, that too.
Yeah, we should go to an escape room.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
And what else? Anything?
I think we should just plan our itineraries on the show.
yeah. Yeah, no, I think our go-to is just go hiking and go for a long
Yeah, that's a
ass
good one,
walk
actually.
with Baka and,
Yeah.
and then go for coffee after or whatever, and then
I don't really like movies for a date because now you're not talking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. But for us, it's a little different because like Jess can't drive and she doesn't have many friends here. And
Yeah.
so sometimes going to a movie and not talking is a good thing because we're always around each other, right? Sometimes.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Just hate each other.
well, I mean, we give each other our space. Like
Yeah, I
but-
know.
yeah.
It is, even though it is hard to give each other space sometimes.
Yeah. it
yeah.
is. Yeah.
It's funny. I love my alone time. Like, I love it. And there's sometimes I feel like building inside me, and I'm like, I need my time. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
When-
weird. I get that too, where I'm like, I need my alone time. But sometimes if I have too much alone time, I feel bad. I'm like, I miss my wife. You know, like
Yeah.
it's like I feel like I should be with Caitlin right now. I've been away from her too long.
Do you
Yeah.
set like boundary, like a time, like okay, these 2 hours are for me, or
Well, no, like
because then you might not think that way.
no, the way we work is like, okay, like I tell her, I'm like, okay, I have Dungeons and Dragons in 2 weeks. I'm recording my podcast, right? And it's like this is kind of like my time.
But do you have alone time with?
Well, like I go to like at home, like during the week. It's more just she goes to bed earlier than me. So I'll stay up and play Balatro. But yeah, that's kind of it. And she has her alone time because she likes to like she's a big reader. So she's like, if she gets lost in a book, she just kind of
Yeah, I
So-
guess also it's dependent on the couple, right, and the person. Like,
Oh,
are they
yeah,
introvert or
obviously,
extrovert,
yeah.
or yeah.
we should have our wives on sometime. They can tell us about what they think.
Yeah, they would probably have a completely different story.
What time are we at? Oh. Okay, one more topic I want to go over. So, because I'm too much online, and so I saw this thing, and it was this woman. She was like in her late 50s, recently divorced, and she got the house and the divorce and all that. And she was like looking to make like a big life change and basically asking for advice. And the comment section was like great. It was like so many people starting over like later in life, that kind of thing. But there was a lot of it that was like older women, and they were like, yep, got divorced, starting over, and like a lot of that. And I was wondering, like, why do you think that it seems like so many older women get divorced and are super happy in their like new lives?
I don't know.
I think it's because you guys are muted. I think that's why you guys are talking about letting things fester.
Yeah,
So I think a lot of those marriages, they fester for so long, and when they divorce, they immediately feel like, oh, we don't have to worry about that anymore.
Yeah, they're
You know,
some of
it's
that.
like
Yeah.
it's like, oh, it's just I'm free of those things that annoyed me for 20 years. I'm
Yeah.
free of listening to him snore. You
Well,
know what
see, I
like
think-
it's all these things that they no longer have to worry about.
I think that that's true, but I think there's like the little annoyances, like snoring and stuff like that. And it's like when you find something else that you hate, like a legitimate thing that you hate about them, and you let it fester. Now suddenly it's like their snoring is like horrible,
Right.
is way
One-
worse
one
than it
thing,
was. Yeah,
Like
one
if
more.
I don't like this, all of a sudden I don't like that
Yeah.
he or she snores.
Well, it's something
all-
you never liked,
yeah.
but you were just like, whatever, I can live with it.
Or he chews too loudly. Now all of a sudden that's in your ear.
Yeah.
And it's like everything just starts to fester because you didn't work on that one thing.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Maybe you thought it was just a duty to just not talk about it.
exactly.
And
When you could say, hey, like early on in the relationship, you could have been like, hey, you chew a little loud. Do you mind?
yeah.
You know, or something. It's just
Also, the guys were different back then, like more
That's
macho. Like, imagine telling Tony Montana, like, "Hey, you're chewing loud." He would be like,
Well, I think yeah, I think more it's a lot too is like the partnership we talk about. And I think a lot of those men don't believe in that or see
I'm
that.
just getting my love advice from the Golden Bachelor. So that
Oh, yeah.
Jess and I watched it, and we actually liked it.
Okay, I watched the first season. It's so okay. This is the stupid thing about the show. I can't remember what city he was in, but they should only get women from that city. The reason they didn't work out in the first season is because he like lived in Maine or something, and she lived in like California.
Was it the one with the girl?
The one with the girl.
First, because they've only had one season.
There's a Golden Batch and a Golden Bachelorette,
Oh, Bachelorette, I'm talking about. I didn't
Oh,
watch
okay.
the Bachelor one.
but it's
Yeah.
like it's kind of like okay, these people are like in their 60s, 70s,
Yeah.
like they're not moving. They're not
Yeah.
moving cross country. Like this is ridiculous.
Yeah. There was one in the Bachelorette version. There's so many guys who like their wives just passed away. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of guys like that. And there's one in particular. He's a Chinese guy named Charles, and he's gonna be the next Bachelor.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because he was like the fan favorite, and we just loved him. He was like super kind guy, and he's just like, my wife one day just had a brain seizure and just passed away. Like she was so healthy, and he was like brokenhearted on the show, and he found like a meaning from the other guys. Like it was quite supportive. The other guy, it's like a big community between those guys
Yeah.
that we really like gravitated, as opposed to the Bachelor, where it's just bullshit young
Oh,
guys
yeah.
looking, it's nothing.
Dating 50 nurses. Yeah.
Yeah, there's like nothing meaningful, but we connected with it. And I think people like second chance stories, like to a rebirth, and
Yeah.
could start fresh when you're 60, 70, right?
Well, I like the idea of those because a lot of them are like widowers.
Yeah.
And so there's like the idea that it's like, you're never going to replace, my wife, my husband.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean I have to be lonely the rest of my life. That doesn't mean I don't deserve,
Yeah.
to feel loved and be loved.
There's all those stories in like different cultures of like, okay, this husband died when I was 25 and I never remarried, right? Like,
Yeah.
I would never soil his name. Like, such a different like mentality back then, right?
Yeah.
But now it's like, it's okay to like give yourself a second chance. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, like I said, it's just the idea. It's like, you're not my soulmate. You're not my person, but that doesn't mean we can't love each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have one last thing, I guess, before we wrap up. Do you think, what has your marriage done to like help your mental health? Or has it made it easier to deal with? Because I know for me, I think I am way healthier mentally since being with Caitlin. I used to have panic attacks and everything. Like, I don't have those anymore. She's kind of put things in perspective for me. She has calmed me in many ways. So, because I know some people like marriages, like all of a sudden they're more anxious sometimes, right? So
Yeah.
I'm just curious.
I think it depends like how you perceive what a marriage is. And for me, it's like you're holding someone's hand on the path of life towards death. And it's literally, it's better to hold your soulmate's hand along the way than it is to be alone.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's way more meaning in life with someone that you love, to get through those difficult times. And yeah, for me, most definitely, it's I don't know, maybe I have this thing where it sucks to be alone. Like, it's just life.
I think that's humanity, but yeah.
Life is just so boring alone, I feel. But with someone that you love, it makes it more meaningful. And I enjoy waking up every day with that meaning, right? Yeah, I don't know. What about you?
I was going to say, like, Ash is definitely like my biggest like supporter, my biggest rock and all that. She's also my biggest trigger, but yeah.
I think that's normal.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she's the one who
Because
knows
she is
you.
my biggest rock. So when something
Yeah.
goes wrong,
Yeah, she knows you the best.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
yeah.
So
It's hard when your rock isn't a rock and
Yeah.
you have to become the rock.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like I'm Caitlin's rock, she always says, but
Yeah.
I always say she's my river, and sometimes it's like I need her to be the rock.
Yeah.
So I get that 100%.
I did forget to say one thing, which is I think like I don't own Jess. She's free.
Well, I have this paper transaction right here.
I think a lot of men believe they own their wife.
Yeah,
in
I think
some
you're
way.
right.
Like they
Yeah.
become very possessive. And, for me, I think a wisdom in a relationship is about letting go of what you love. And I don't put all of my identity into my marriage.
Yeah.
It's just a part of it.
Yes, it's a part of
Because-
you. Yeah.
If I lose her one day, if all of my identity is in her and I lose her, who am I, right? So, and I think we have a mutual understanding that we're both free. Like,
Yeah.
she can do whatever,
Yeah.
and I don't possess her at all.
Yeah.
And I think there's some kind of freedom in that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So I just want to say that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a great place to end it too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, Brad.
Oh, thank you,
Brandon,
Jordan.
for sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
We'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Yeah.